Thank you. The next coach on the teleconference is Groce. The Illini are 16-8 overall and 6-5 in Big Ten play. Illinois will host Michigan on Thursday before traveling to Wisconsin on Sunday. Coach Groce, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's go straight to questions for Coach Groce, please.
If you'd like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Your first question comes from the line of Rob McCauley with the Illini Report.
John, can you explain why your teams seem to get better as the season reaches its later stage?
Well, I mean, I would hope that happens every year. It's certainly not a guarantee, Rob. I mean, I understand that. But through experience, through that whole focus of trying to get a little bit better every day, execute a little bit better, learn from, getting knocked down and getting back up, learn from successes, guys gaining more experience. I think all of those things, you kind of throw them into a melting pot. Our hope would that we'd have the right attitude and disposition where, we truly are learning every day and getting better, and that we have an opportunity to play our best late. That's still, we played well here lately, but we still got a long way to go, so that still remains to be seen. But we've been, very fortunate in that our teams have done that historically.
Your next question comes from the line of Rob Hernandez with Wisconsin State Journal.
Yeah, John, I was just curious about, I know Wisconsin at the back half of the week. What are the different challenges of preparing for a team that's only on the schedule in conference play once versus twice, and especially with it being Wisconsin where they're at in the standings?
Well, obviously I'm familiar with Wisconsin because I've been in the league now 3 years and a previous stint before that and have great respect for them. But right now our focus is on Michigan. For Thursday night, I haven't, dove into them at all in terms of the one-day first-time prep deal. It is a little bit different. I always say familiarity breeds contempt in this league. So I do think that part's a little bit different this late. But other teams in our league have teams that are playing for the first time, this time of year as well. It's just kind of the way the schedule falls, and it is what it is. But it certainly is different from a familiarity standpoint for the players who are playing. Obviously, if you played a team previously, there's more familiarity there.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Marcus Jackson with Champaign Youth Gazette.
Morning, John.
Morning, Marcus.
I know you spent a little bit of time in the ACC, and I didn't know if you had any dealings with Coach Smith at all, or had any interactions or any thoughts about him.
Well, obviously, you see all the things that have been written and tweeted and said about Coach Smith over the last couple of days here, or a day or so. But, for me, my experience, I coached against him as an assistant coach at NC State for 1 year, and that was 96-97, which was his last year. And they beat us in the championship game of the ACC tournament in Greensboro. Had a chance that year, obviously, to go against them there 3 times. And they were very difficult to prepare for, obviously, as you'd expect. Very well coached, played very well together. I think, it's interesting because there's so many things now as a coach. You go to clinics as a young coach, and you come up in the business, and, whether it's the Carolina break or, the Carolina way, or, we have a drill in our practice that we call Carolina. There's so many different things, from drills to four-corner offense to secondary break to, all those different things that he's given to the game from an X and O standpoint. But I think if you read what's been said about him by the players and people that he's touched, he's had even more of an impact off the court, which is pretty neat. It certainly makes his legacy even more special.
Thanks, John.
Your next question comes from the line of Jeremy Warner with Rivals.com.
Hey, John. Just wondering if you got any clarity on that technical foul, flagrant foul on Jalen Tate this weekend.
Well, obviously, you saw the statement that came out from the Big Ten office regarding the actual rule and how it was applied, and it kind of it is what it is. Those guys obviously are. I said this after the game. We had 3 great officials on the game. They took a look at it. They were pretty united in their stance in terms of their opinion of what they thought that they saw, and you got to kind of go with it at that point. But obviously it was deemed a flagrant one dead ball foul.
Thanks.
And once again, if you'd like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then number 1 on your telephone keypad.
Coach, can you talk a little about the development of your sophomore class? I mean, obviously those 3 guys in particular have really been carrying your team through this recent stretch. How have they been able to acclimate themselves so quickly?
Well, really all 5 of them, and all 5 sophomores have contributed heavily, during the stretch that we've had here. And, I would say the biggest reason why would probably be the fact that they were, indoctrinated by fire last year. We kind of threw them in there. We had 9 newcomers last year, plus Ray had been sitting out the previous year, so we had 10 brand new players in our second year a year ago, and they got thrown into the fire and into the furnace and got knocked down a lot and fell on their face and had to get back up and had to figure some things out. And probably that experience going through that, although not totally pleasurable, so to speak, at the time, has been good for them, and obviously been good for us in this stretch that they've had that type of experience. And I think that's certainly probably as much as anything helped them get to where they are at right now as sophomores.
And once again, if you'd like to ask a question, simply press star 1.
Coach, looks like we're all set. We appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime. Thank you.
Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Your first question comes from the line of Rob Hernandez with Wisconsin State Journal.
Hey, Bo. Good morning. Your first game in Nebraska, obviously Tara and Petaway had a monster game, did real solid job on all the other guys. Do you change the game plan much to try to, cut down on 27 points, the amount he had in the first game, or how do you, try to make any adjustments off of what you saw the first game?
Well, sometimes a player's just in a zone and hitting shots that maybe at other times wouldn't go down as regularly. So it's still a key whenever you're playing a team with a couple players, 1, 2, 3 players that are good scorers. Obviously, you can't let 2 or 3 of them go off. If one guy does, sometimes maybe that person occupies the ball a lot. Maybe some other guys don't get into an offensive rhythm. It's still the bottom line is the number of points that the team scores. So there's various reasons why somebody might have a bigger night than normal, but still it's still team defense, and still the idea is to have more on your left-hand side. And if somebody gets off for 20-some and you're getting it done, that's okay.
And then just a follow-up, too, when on your side of the ledger last game, Dewey Dukin had a real nice game, but I think that was the last game where he knocked down a 3. It just seems like maybe he's been struggling to get that rhythm 3 to go the last 4 or 5 games. Have you noticed anything that is different about Dewey, and how does a guy like that work out of maybe a mental shooting slump like that?
Well, what I know is he took the only charge of the game against Northwestern.
Sure.
So I noticed that. If the shot's not going down, you can't yell somebody into making shots. So as long as he rebounds, plays defense, makes the extra pass, keeps playing a good floor game, his shot, you always believe that the next one's going down. So I don't agonize about those type of things. Never have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your next question comes from the line of Dana O'Neill with ESPN.com.
Good morning, Bo. How are you?
Good, Dan.
Just wanted to ask you, we're a little over a month out here from Selection Sunday. Do you have any questions yet unsettled with your team, or do you feel pretty good about where you guys are right now?
Well, there's always areas of improvement. So I like the way we've handled being 30-some minutes light in the starting lineup, in our rotations with Jackson being out.
Mm-hmm.
So they've picked that up. So I'm happy with that kind of progress. So I'd still like to see more production from the 8 guys that hit the floor, and that includes the starters in some ways, rebounding, defense. So, I'll always find things. We in our breakdown that we did of each of the last, of all our games, there's some teaching points, and player as individuals are trying to get better, then the team will get better. And I think everybody's going through that right now. You got some nicks, you got some little nagging things going on physically with players, but every team has that. Everybody has that. So maybe I can say this: whoever has the best trainer and strength coach between now and the Sunday you're referring to, maybe that's where the key is.
Well, especially in your situation, obviously, waiting to get your point guard back in the lineup. When he gets back, is it fair to expect him to have a little bit of lag time?
Yeah, it usually happens that way. We had another player years ago that had that same injury, and it doesn't, in Orlando Tucker, it doesn't lead itself to just jumping right back on the court and picking it up. But the way they do things now, with all the different rehab methods and all the stuff they've learned in the past couple decades on these types of fractures, we're hoping that it doesn't take him very long to get right back at it.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Your next question comes to the line of Rob McCauley with the Illini Report.
Well, you have a quick turnaround for Nebraska, but then you get 2 extra days to prepare for Illinois, 2 more than they get. Does it bother you at all? Does it help? Does it hurt?
I've looked at that over the years. There's no pattern. You know how I am about numbers and percentages and all that. I think if you go back and look over the years, of course now we got 2 more teams in the league, so the schedule probably is a little bit different this year than any year. But I've looked at that where a team had a week, another team had 2 days, and I can't tell you that there was a pattern. So if somebody else has one, I'd be more than happy to look at it. Because once you're into this part of the season, it's play.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your next question comes from the line of Rob Hernandez with Wisconsin State Journal.
Bo, just to follow up on Dana's question about Trayvon and you talking about the missing minutes, I kind of chuckle. Your fans are already starting to project what happens when he comes back and how you'll handle the rotation. Can you shed any light as to what factors go into, whether Bronson stays in the starting lineup or Trey regains that job when that time comes?
Well, let's do it like they do on TV here when they have these series. Let's just see how it plays out. Everybody speculate, everybody do their thing. We're not agonizing here about it, so we just hope to get him back. We don't have him back yet. I mean, that still has to occur. And these things aren't, okay, 62 days, 50 days, 40 days, the bone is healed. No, everybody's different. So I really don't have any time right now to do the speculating that our great fans have. And our fans are good about that, so they'll probably do their little side actions as to what's going to happen. That's okay.
I guess the good news about your fans, Bo, is that it's their way of saying that Bronson's playing pretty well, huh?
Yeah, I mean that's if that becomes a controversy, then that way. But our guys, it's really a close group. It's amazing how they've handled everything to this point and how they've helped Trey through this process. It's just kind of neat. It seems a little different though when all of a sudden in practice you see this boom go by you, and it's like, what the heck was that? And it's Trey on his little scooter. He's all over the place with that thing. So I know he's hungry to get back on the court, though.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
The next coach on the teleconference is Michigan assistant coach Jeff Meyer. Coach Beilein was unable to join us this morning. Wolverines are on the season and 6-6 in Big Ten play. Michigan will travel to Illinois on Thursday. Coach, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I apologize. Coach Beilein is in the air right now, or he would have been on the call. So, but it's good to be with you.
Well, we appreciate that. Can you just provide us a quick opening statement about your team, and then we'll go ahead and open it for questions from the media.
Well, obviously, yesterday was a difficult loss, a disappointing loss. Always feel like the amount of disappointment in losing is equivalent to the amount of energy expended in trying to win. And our kids prepared very well. They played very hard. Troy Williams was great for Indiana. I thought Yogi made clutch plays and clutch shots again. But we played a little better offensively. We were more connected. We played with a little better purpose. And execution was better. So that's a sign of growth for our team. And we felt like that we competed. And we just came up short. And you got to give Indiana credit. They played very well. And at the same time, we know we've got Illinois in front of us, coming off a big win at East Lansing. And those kids are playing very well for John right now with a lot of energy and with a lot of passion.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go straight to questions, please.
If you'd like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Your first question comes from the line of Rod Beard with the Detroit News.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Better than I deserve, Rod, but thank you for asking. I hope you're well.
Absolutely. This year, with a different cast of characters, and Beilein's known as a teacher, what have you seen different from him in dealing with freshmen and role player guys in increased roles and having that part of his coaching tested this year with that?
You know, I don't know that there is much difference, Rod, in terms of his approach. I mean, he has always been a let's get better today. This is who we are. This is how we want to play. He still imparts a vision, and he still gives great attention to detail. And we as a staff continue to remind each other that we are in a growth process, and we've got, right now we're starting 3 freshmen, 2 of whom did not play a whole lot in the pre-Big Ten season. But we kind of go day to day, and Coach is tremendous at keeping the vision of getting better and trying to be more connected in our purpose and how we play the game. And so I don't know that there's been a big difference, Rod. It's kind of who he is, and it's how he approaches every day at practice and every opponent.
Well, just to follow up, Jeff, things like the 2-3 zone that he typically wouldn't run or hasn't run in recent years, it retrofits to this group because he's got to work with the skill sets that they understand best and whatever schemes they understand best and will execute out on the floor.
Yeah, we've obviously over the past couple of years been more man-to-man oriented, and as we've gone down the path with this group, we've felt like that changing defenses might serve us well. So we have obviously played more 2-3 than we did the last couple of years, but that's you got a rotation, a bench rotation. It's been limited. More so than in the past, and just one of the adjustments that we've made defensively speaking. And, of course, the 3 zone has been a defense that Coach Beilein has taught and been able to utilize, opponent to opponent depending on who we're playing.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Mark Snyder with Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Jeff. With these
morning,
near
Mark.
misses, good morning to you. With these near misses, obviously Wisconsin, Michigan State, Indiana, is there do you guys have to go with the psychology here and kind of talk to your young team and at some point and kind of try to, work with their mindset to try to keep them engaged on some level so that disappointment doesn't overtake them?
You know what? It's a really good question. I think it's coaching. And, when the calendar turns to February, Mark, in so many cases, we've always felt like you are who you are. It's a great time of year for players because they get to play games. I think Bo just kind of mentioned, hey, we just play, and it's got an NCAA day off today. We'll have 2 days to prepare, and we'll go to Illinois, and the beat just continues. So, but we always say in February you got to coach your hearts anyhow, whether, depending on season to season. I mean, you kind of are who you are, and you got to coach your hearts. And that's a part of that when you have a team like we've got this year that competed very hard and doing some things very well in terms of growing, falling short. You've got to be very aware of their hearts, and you got to be very aware of just trying to keep them in a good place, keep the vision in front of them, and keep them connected.
Because they've never been through this before, so is it different because of that? I mean, most of them haven't.
Well, we've got freshmen who've never been through this or any college season before, so they're kind of looking at us for. And I know Spike. I thought his leadership yesterday was very, very evident and was very strong. Zach, he stepped up also on the court, but those two voices now in the locker room have been really important to our young kids. So, we've got a group that certainly haven't been through this, and like I said, the freshman group, they've not been through a season before, so this is all new. And they're kind of looking for us to provide them a path and a way. And I'm sure they're talking to Spike and Zach about where do we go and where do we move to next right now.
Thank you.
We've got time for one more question, please, Darla.
And your final question comes from the line of Brendan Quinn with MLive Media Group.
Hey, Jeff. When you talk about at this time of year you are who you are, at the same time it seems like from game to game, sometimes one thing works and it looks like you have one identity, and then the next day something entirely different works and it looks like you have a totally different identity. I guess for game planning or whatever it might be, just what is the level of difficulty going into every game trying to figure out exactly what is going to work on that particular night?
I think most coaches would say that the challenge of coaching a younger team, a team that doesn't have the experiences of maybe going to East Lansing or going to Bloomington, going to Champaign this week, that's one of the challenges that you have is just the battle for consistency. And, it just is kind of part of the territory. I don't think you dwell on it. You just kind of know it. I always say coaching is certainly much more an art than it is a science. And right now you are just in a point of your season where you're just trying to get kids to understand the importance of being consistent in their two things that they control, their attitude, their effort. And our kids have been great with that. And, obviously on the court there's been some ebbs and flows and ups and downs, but the attitude, the effort, and I would say the competitive nature of this group has been very reflective of who we are at Michigan and what we've endeavored to build here.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Coach, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for hopping on with us.
You guys have a great day.
Thanks. The next coach on the teleconference is Ohio State Dad Mata.